No, I haven't seen his analysis, but I've seen the Patriots. They suck.
Oh
As
yeah.
a,
Oh yeah, they do.
I mean, like you have to fire so many of them. They're extremely expensive, and they often miss over and
Often
over
is
and over again.
often is an understatement. Well, first of all, when the first Gulf War happened, I wasn't there. I was. I'll just say that I just finished up high school. I wasn't actually going to go in the military because the recruiter in my high school said, "Ah, you're Russian. They'll never let you near a tank." Then I became an armor officer. But at that point, I was like, "Well, fine, fuck you too." And then eventually, I still wound up. Blood is blood. Come from a military family. But a friend of mine was who was a cadet with me. He was an enlisted guy in a combat engineer unit, and they were stationed right beside the Patriots. So the Saudis, Saddam was firing Scuds. A Scud is an R-11 missile, ballistic missile. R-11s are guided strictly by a gyroscope, and they fall on top of the target when the fuel runs out. So you fuel it up just to get it to the target. They are about as inaccurate as it gets for a ballistic missile. But if they're carrying a nuclear warhead or a gas warhead, yeah, if you, particularly with a nuke, if you're off a little, nobody cares. Yeah. But if you're a high explosive and you're off a little and you're blowing up empty desert, yeah, that kind of loses its effect. Well, the R-11 Scud is slow, flies straight. It has no maneuverability of any kind. It's a pretty primitive weapon. And he said, that have them flying in. I mean, you would think this would be the optimal target for an anti-aircraft system. This is like a test regime, right? You know the speed, you know the direction. They're not maneuvering. The wind might blow them a little one way or the other, but they're not maneuvering, right? He said he'd listen up to 5 Patriots going off before they'd actually be able to hit it. Yeah. Well, Raytheon. Then there was a scandal. Actually, it turned out it was Professor Postal that started that scandal. There was a scandal after the war that the Patriots were actually pieces of crap. They couldn't really do anything. So that was a big scandal. Apparently, Raytheon had faked all the data, all the testing data. And now on this one, so the Patriot was developed. It's a decent enough missile against airplanes, right? Fast movers, jets, jet aircraft. It's decent enough against jet aircraft. Well, the PAC-3 was developed specifically to take on ballistic missiles, not hypersonics, just ballistics. Now, ballistic missiles, they can go as fast as a hypersonic, right? Ballistic missiles can go when they're going, particularly the ones that go are long range ballistics that go up to the edge of space in the stratosphere, arc over and start going down. They can get up to Mach 8, Mach 9, easy. The thing is, they are a ballistic missile. As long as you have enough time and space, and you know its velocity, its velocity, its vector of movement, right. You can predict where it's going because it's going in a hyperbolic arc. I mean, it's predictable. And then you can supposedly pop some missiles up in its way, as opposed to hypersonics, which are maneuverable. They're going just as fast, except they're all over the place. And no computer system would predict where it's going to be. So, you've got big problems with that. Well, from what Postal was showing, they've got a hit rate of about 4 to 5%.
What?
Yeah, exactly.
That's almost pointless.
That's almost basically spitballs. And there was a story by the Ukrainian grandma that took out a Russian hypersonic missile with a jar of pickles. She was on her roof with a jar of pickles. Don't ask me why she was on her roof with a jar of pickles and a Russian hypersonic going at 3 kilometers per second. But her mind was analytical. And she tossed that jar of pickles up just in time to take it out. It was quite. This goes right up there with the ghost of Kiev, right?
Wait, this is a real story. I thought you were joking. This is a real story.
They put it out as a real story. Yeah. Ukrainian
Oh, that's
propaganda at its
fantastic.
best.
That is fantastic. It's like I threw the jar of pickles at the right time to hit the hypersonic missile. And even though it destroyed the warehouse and everything else, the grandma effectively took it out. That's like saying the warehouse took out the missile. Yeah, okay.
Well, that's the new secret. That is the new secret anti-aircraft systems in Kiev. The warehouses jump up and grab a missile. Yeah. It works 100% of the time. They take the drones and missiles right out of the sky. They just jump up, absorb the hit, and fall back down. Yep. 100% of the time, they take the missile out.
That's a damn shame. I can't believe they put something like that up. That is hilarious.
They had Tank Girl. They had a story of Tank Girl at this was in 23, who serviced 11 tankers. I'm sorry, who destroyed 11 tank crews. They've been running these bullshit stories nonstop. People still believe them. That's the worst part is, I mean, there's so many stupid people in this world. They go, oh, well, this one's got to be right. Okay, well, sure.
Those people work at U.S. media like Financial Times who, it's like they can't accept what seems to be taking place. In fact, one of the other interesting parts to the story is Odesa and the port and Russia's blockade of the port. I mean, Russia has effectively shut down the economy from the standpoint of items coming into Ukraine or items being sold out of Ukraine. And I was reading, I think it was Rodevka, was one of the Slaviangrad, but they were pointing out the number of ships that Russia has effectively taken out. Like the number is astonishing. Like meaning they've effectively shut down the Odesa ports. And this is having some kind of detrimental effect on a Ukrainian economy in regards to their ability to ship grain, certain products out those ports. I mean, I think that story has been getting a little bit more play. And I guess this falls into the last question I have with Syrskyi. Is the fact that Syrskyi was fired having some kind of impact on what's taking place regarding the front lines? What are we looking at regarding the current frontline situation in regards to the war?
Well, Odesa is not just the only port. There's ports south and north of Odesa, and ports on the Danube River. It's not a lot of Danube River territory, but I think there's like 7 or 8 ports altogether. They've all been shut down. They've all been destroyed. International shipping going in have been warned if they didn't turn around, they get hit. That's just it. Yes. But Ukraine started all this. Obviously, they hit multiple ships, non-Russian ships, by the way. And they hit a lot of ships in the Azov. They hit a lot of ships in Central and Eastern Black Sea. They've even hit multiple ships coming in and out of the Bosphorus Straits in Turkey. Tankers are heading up to fill up in Novorossiysk. And by the way, fill up on on U.S./Kazakh oil. The Caspian Oil Authority that runs out of Tengiz, which is western Kazakhstan, runs a pipeline up through Russia to Novorossiysk. The Caspian Oil Authority is 50% Chevron, 5% Lukoil, and 45% Kaz oil. Actually, there may be another partner. I don't remember if Exxon's anywhere in there or not. But it's basically 50% American. They've lost. I think Chevron's like $4 or $5 billion on this year, and Kazakhstan's lost about $4.5 billion so far and counting. With Ukraine hitting tankers, a Greek tanker coming in to fill up, there are other tankers. So Russia finally escalated in the Black Sea. And they've closed down the ports and they've hit any ship coming in, regardless of what flag is flying. Maersk, as a matter of fact, said that's it. We're not allowing anybody from our fleet. And Maersk is the biggest shipping company in the world. So that's it. We're not going to Ukraine anymore. It's not worth the risk. And the risk in general on any insurance policies coming in it's got to be skyrocketing by this point. Because who wants to put a tanker in that's going to be guaranteed to be hit? So that's for Ukrainians, those ports served several points, not just export of wheat and sunflower seeds and oil and things like that, but also weapons. weapons coming in and weapons going out, because Ukraine exports. Ukraine is a black market military hub for heavy weapons and light weapons from the U.S. When 777 howitzers are disappearing, this isn't a matter of I open up my trunk of my car, throw a couple hand grenades, a few AKs, maybe a few Javelin missiles in there, and go sell them off to somebody that's going to go sell them in the Middle East or someplace else. These are actual howitzers that are disappearing. There was a report done by a U.S. NGO that something like 1/3 of the heavy tube artillery that was provided to Ukraine never reached the battlefield.
Right.
This is stuff that went to port. Obviously, you're not going to hide a howitzer in the back of your trunk, your car. These they went to port. You put them in a ship and you bury them in grain, and you ship them out. And on top of that, when they had the grain deal, Ukraine was using the Green Corridor to launch drone attacks on Russia. So Russia shut that down. And now Russia's just shut down the ports of Ukraine, period.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you another story that I've heard from very. I'll tell you another story that I've heard from some very good. First of all, Odesa is flooded with British MI6 and British SOS. Well, back in the 1880s, Odesa had a plague outbreak, right? And it was pretty bad. And Odesa was cordoned off. The entire province was cordoned off by the Russian military. They wouldn't let anybody in and out until it burned itself out. So when it burned itself out, there were a lot of corpses in Odesa. So what the people did was, because they were afraid of burning them and spreading the plague again. Are you there?
Yeah. Can you hear me? Hello? Stas, can you hear me? Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I can hear you. There might have just
what the
been a
people
lag,
did after the plague is they buried the bodies in the middle of, close to the middle of town, and they built a big mound on top of the dirt to pack it all down and keep the bodies there, the plague bodies. Well, from what I've been told, the British have mined that hill. They're still to blow it up and maybe infestation if and or when the Russian army are.
That is, if that's true, that's other level. If that's true, that's, like to call that depraved is an understatement. To call that depraved is an understatement. Last question before I let you go. The battlefield situation on the ground, where are we in that sense? I know the Russians have started to surround Kramatorsk, Slaviansk, and this kind of last thematic struggle from sampling to the Donbas is beginning to take place. Where are we in that last time play? Oh, he's frozen. He's frozen. Come on. Okay. Stas will be back. To be honest, we're at the end of it anyway, so it's kind of a moot point. Yeah. Okay. There is obviously a connection issue. I don't know if Stas is going to be back. This was the end of it anyway. So it's perfectly fine if he is not. In fact, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to close it. Yeah, everybody's saying Stas froze. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. He was here. He made the 30 minutes. And to be honest, I was pushing past the 30. So shout out to Stas for that. Stanislav Krapivnik. He has my appreciation. He has my thanks. And obviously, I'll have him back to talk more about the military situation. But great breakdown from his part. I thank him for it. I thank you for it. If you guys dig this content, you can support it. PayPal, Patreon, Super Chat memberships. If you are subscribed, or if you've come to this content, but you haven't necessarily subscribed, oh, there he is. Stats, I was at the end anyway, so I was going to close it.
Yeah.
But please, finish the story. No, you're perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Please finish it.
So the British apparently have mined Plague Hill in Odessa to blow it up, because I guess the plague would still be the plague bacteria would still be alive on the bodies, from 100-some years ago. So as a booby trap, I guess, if and or when the Russian army arrives in Odessa. So yeah, so I mean, you get, I don't know if it's true or not, but like I said, my sources are pretty good, so I am trusting more than likely it is, and it's something that the SAS would do.
Yeah, that's depraved. If that's true, that's depraved. That's
it's very depraved. It's the British.
One last thing. What is the battleground like currently? Like, meaning from the standpoint of the front lines in regards to Kramatorsk, Slaviansk. I know that the Russians have started their siege of these territories, which is ultimately, in case the audience don't know, the last battleground in Donbas.
So we've got, well, that area. Okay, so there's three actions going on. One, there's a forward movement of the Russian forces up to Druzhovka, Kramatorsk, Slaviansk. And the Russian military at its closest point to actually Kramatorsk is about 5.5 kilometers out. They paused forward movement to consolidate across the line because they had several spear points going in, and they had several Ukrainian pockets in between that had to be cut off and destroyed. So now they've evened up the front line, and they're starting to push forward again. Then you have the pincher movement. You have the pincher movement from coming up from Konstantinovka. That's in this one small village just before Druzhovka. They're in the middle of that village fighting now. That's in the south, and that they're coming up on the road that goes right through all three of the towns. And in the north, they're cleaning up right now in Krasny Liman. Krasny Liman's about 10 kilometers northeast of Slaviansk, and you can see Slaviansk from it below because Krasny Limansk is on high ground. So artillery has better range, drones have better capabilities. So that's sooner than later that's going to be finished up on the cleanup, and they'll spend some time reorganizing and then moving forward again towards Slaviansk. So you'll get this pincher movement and a forward facing combat movement. But there's also another thing that's happening is in DNR, Dobropolye, the Russian army came up to Dobropolye. They invested the first very edge of it, and they stopped. So they fixed the Ukrainian troops in Dobropolye in place, and now they're just moving in different directions away from Dobropolye, while there's a fixing force left in Dobropolye to make sure the Ukrainians don't leave to go anywhere else, otherwise they'll lose the city. Right. The main point is there is a spike going up northwards out of Dobropolye that's going to be coming up behind Druzhovka and Kramatorsk. And the problem for the Ukrainians is what we've seen in the previous 4 years is, this conglomeration isn't just north to south, it's also east to west. So every time the Ukrainians were pushed out of one pre-prepared fortress city or town, they had to go back maybe 3, 4, 5 kilometers, and they were in the next one, and then the next one. And now this is it. This is the last ones. Behind them, it's just open fields, a couple small villages that aren't prepared, some small amount of field fortification, which is basically trenches. So there's no line to be fortified. Whatever is built in open fields. And that's that way all the way to the Dnieper. So this is it for them. This is when this falls, and it will fall. There is no more fortified towns and villages. It's open field, and Russia frees up a whole lot of strength that's now concentrated in that area. So they've got big problems. They've got big problems in northeast Kharkiv Oblast. That's basically in Russian hands now. They've got big problems in Sumy with the Russian army near the edge of Sumy. Oryokov in the south is being surrounded from 3 different sides and is already tactically surrounded because N08 that runs through Ariocha for the main highway, it is under aviation, artillery, and drone control. So they can't really get anything in and out. So that's the situation right now. So when they say nothing's happening, they say that constantly, don't they?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
believe the pocket monkey press of the West, or believe what's going on for real.
Well, they were trying to make the argument that Ukraine was somehow winning and that they've somehow turned the tables on the Russians. At least that's what they were trying to put out here. I mean, mind you, Konstantin.
Oh yeah, we were all digging tank trenches outside of Moscow now.
Yeah, it's wild. Like
Yeah.
you think that we were in an alternate reality. I mean, I thought that when I was working at the radio station, but even now, when they come out with stories like Ukraine is having these theatrical explosions, so obviously they were winning. And it's like, dude, Constantinople just fell. It's like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Like on the battlefield, they are losing, and yet the West was trying to present this like they were winning. Des, man, you have my appreciation. No, please finish. I'm sorry. There's
I was gonna say there's a Russian joke that was floating around early on that's still relevant. Two Russian infantrymen are sitting in Kiev, looking at each other. It's like, damn, we sure did lose the information war, didn't we?
We lost so hard. We took Kiev, right? Right.
Yeah. Oh, the Ukrainians are winning constantly. They're doing strategic advancements to the west.
Yep. Yeah. They're
back toward Kiev.
Hard to the back. They're obviously winning. Yeah. It's wild. Stas, man, thank you for this. I really appreciate it. Great. Damn it, I got my glasses. Yep. Great breakdown as always. The audience loves you. I always think your content is great. Stas has his own channel, by the way.
Thank you.
When is your next show? So the audience will know.
Yep. Well, I've got a couple shows that are just recorded that I'm popping up. I'm still on vacation. I'll be on the road soon enough, so I won't be doing any shows while I'm on the road, heading back. But I just put one out with Cameron McGregor. Posted it up a couple of hours ago. So check it out. Cameron's great as always. I'm not implying any relations to any other McGregors. I'll let you figure that one out on your own.
That's perfect.
But yeah, yes, and before that, I had Cynthia McKinney, also a great person. If you're familiar with her, really good. She was state. Yeah, she was a representative from Georgia, House of Representatives. So she got forced out because she wouldn't take the bribes. So,
pretty much.
She didn't become an APEC baby. By the way, have you seen the woman of, as they say in the South, of unfortunate looks? Laura Loomer, who is now a huge fan of Zelensky after criticizing him for several years. It's amazing. She said, I saw the light. It's amazing what $2 million of light can get you. She got brought over by Akhmatov, who was a Ukrainian oligarch who got kicked out of and lost his mines and other things in Donbas. So he's a little bitter. But it's amazing how much light $2 million in your pocket will bring you.
And
the enlightenment is just
on a dime. I mean, and amazing how you can flip on a dime. Like, how do you take a policy? You take a position for years, and then almost overnight, you're this hardened Ukrainian, patriot living in America. Like it's
what's even worse is she's talking to the head of Azov, who's a Nazi, and Azov is a Nazi outfit. It's a Nazi from the I am a proud Jewiness or whatever it's called. She's a Zionist, but she has no problem talking Nazi stuff. But don't you think the symbolism is just it's just bad? It looks bad. Yes, it's not quite what it's supposed to mean. It's just historical. Yeah, SS. It's all just historical. SS. But it would be very hard to get rid of. Yes, but it's just the view of it. Okay. Oh, by the way, Azov. Just to understand, it was when Azov was just a battalion when it was started. It was bankrupt by a certain gentleman by the name of Kolomovsky. Kolomovsky is one of Ukraine's oligarchs. He created Zelensky. He put him up into power. And by the way, he's now in jail because Zelensky betrayed him. But that's not the main issue. Kolomovsky has a second citizenship. Guess with which country?
Israel.
And since he started an open SS battalion of not neo-Nazis, but flat out Nazis, do you think Israel relieved him of his citizenship? Oh, hell no. He's rich.
No.
You know?
Yes.
So the hypocrisy at this point.
Nazism and Zionism are very similar in regards to what they do, how they act, how they behave. They work very well in tandem with one another. It's not like, there's a dramatic departure between the two.
Exactly.
I know it sounds counterintuitive, but no, you're right. It
isn't. It isn't counterintuitive at all.
Yeah, they work very well.
Nazism isn't limited just to a German ethnicity. It's limited to at least two ethnicities, the Übermensch and the Untermensch. Write in whichever you want, and there you go. National Socialism works just as well in Israel as it did in Germany. So don't worry about it. It can work in anywhere. At the end of the day. Yeah, exactly. So, So there, Kolomovsky, who's Jewish, who started, as he put it, he's a Jewish Banderite. Don't even start. How ludicrous that is, but we live in a very sick, upside down world right now.
How bizarre is that? How bizarre is that?
That's 1984 bizarre. That's 1984 bizarre right there. The party will tell you what the truth is.
Regardless of how contradictory these things are. Yeah.
He says, why don't you just kill me? We will, but first we're gonna break you. It's a matter of principle.
We must break you first. Then you can die. Daz, I appreciate this, man. You be safe. You enjoy the rest of your vacation. I thank you for this, considering what took place yesterday. You have a damn good day, man. Thank you for this. Be safe. Okay?
You too.